Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Well, it's about time that an actual article comes out discussing the very thing that pisses me off most in this industry. Now, many of you are aware of the fact that I sometimes refer to the trucking industry as the love of my life, and that's very, very true. I love this industry, I understand it, and I think it is one of the most important industries considering how far-reaching our operations are. But of course, it is far from ideal. And one of the things that pisses me off is this. No matter how you slice it, at the end of the day, all of the blame falls on the trucker's shoulders. Well, as I said before, finally an article did come out detailing just that. So let's talk about it. Ready? Let's go. So let's start with a couple of examples. You book a load, the rate confirmation comes, and in the rate confirmation, it is written that this load is 40,000 pounds. You come to the shipper, they load you with 49,000 pounds. You are overweight. If you haul this, you're breaking federal law. You run the risk of being in trouble with the DOT. If you do not haul this, you run the risk of getting a freight guard against your company in the worst case, not getting TONU in the best case. Now, what happens to the freight broker who put incorrect information on the rate confirmation? Absolutely nothing. What happens to the shipper who overloaded you? Absolutely nothing. Second example, you get a load that picks up in 2 hours, but then on your way there, you get stuck in horrific traffic because an accident happened on the way. But there is a choice to make. If you go about 85 miles per hour, you can make it to pickup on time, but you're breaking the law. If you do not make it to pickup on time, you are facing possible fines for being late from the broker. And what happens to the broker in this case? Well, absolutely nothing. And in some cases, they get to make actually more money by charging you fines for being late to pickup. So that's what I want to stop on. Those fines and those chargebacks imposed on carriers by brokers for pretty much anything and everything. You are early to pick up, fine. You are late to pick up, fine. Same thing goes for delivery. If you're not tracking, fine. If you are tracking but end up in a bad area where the tracking signal or whatever it's called is not picking up, fine. And what do all of these fines or the threat of these chargebacks and fines mean? Well, one trucker said it best. If I'm fatigued and I have something in my head telling me, well, you're going to get charged $250 if late, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep going. So yeah, these fines and other strange, for a lack of a better word, consequences can absolutely lead to unsafe driving. Now, Overdrive actually discusses all of this in an article and then goes to give a real example. One trucker booked a load at 10 a.m. The load was 270 miles away and an all-in rate of $3,225. Now, the broker sent him the MacroPoint tracking link, and by 10:30, the driver actually received the pickup address with a deadhead of around 5 hours away. But the problem was when the rate con actually came, the driver saw that the pickup time was set for 1 p.m., even though the broker knew that this guy is over 270 miles away. And obviously, this driver told the broker, there's no way I can be there by 1 p.m. and also noted that in the rate confirmation, there were no penalties for being late. Now, everything was discussed with the broker after this guy received the rate confirmation. Everyone agreed that he cannot possibly make a 1 p.m. appointment. So the guy went to pick up, got there at 3:30 p.m., got loaded, delivered the load safely, and when it came time to get paid, the broker sprung on him a $600 chargeback for being late at pickup. So let's talk about it. What actually happened here? The broker was very well aware of the fact that this guy is over 270 miles away from the pickup location and knew that there is no possibility for him to actually make it to pickup by the scheduled appointment time, which was 1 p.m. Yet this broker booked this guy on the load anyway. And then this broker decided that this is a perfect opportunity in order to make money off of their own mistake. This is a classic example of broker makes a mistake, trucker pays for it. And this happens constantly. Now, if you're wondering who the broker is, the article actually does not name them by name, but they do give all the identifying information. They say it's one of those 3-letter brokerages that is based in Ohio. Take a wild guess. So here's the interesting thing that Overdrive mentions that I haven't really thought about, and that's the fact that as of late, brokers are extremely optimistic. And as a Bloomberg analyst said, and I quote, "Most brokers believe demand, rates, and margins are poised to get better for them." And an analysis from TruckStop/Bloomberg actually showed that 55% of the respondents to the survey, which are all brokers, say that their volumes are increasing. Okay, but what does that mean? Well, it means that if more volume is now being handled by freight brokers, they are now looking for more capacity to actually cover that volume. Overdrive actually correctly states, and I'm going to quote this, "If brokers want to effectively capitalize on that increased demand, it's time to stop these kinds of chargeback practices and honor rates agreed to with carriers, without whom they're effectively dead in the water." So remember how I mentioned that TruckStop, the load board, actually released a new feature called Views, where next to each load, there are 4 different types of categories. There's Be the First to View, which means that no one clicked on that load. There's Low Views, Average Views, and High Views, depending on how many carriers took a peek. Well, certain big brokers I am noticing, especially the one that is mentioned or hinted at in the Overdrive article, their views are always either Be the First to View or Low Views. The thing is, no matter how big a brokerage is, it would be wise for them to remember that without trucks, especially if they're a non-asset-based brokerage, without trucks, they are in trouble. Actions have consequences, and treating truckers like dirt when you have the upper hand guarantees only one thing. It guarantees that all that extra volume that you are getting is going to end up sitting at the shipper's facility. And this is what I'm starting to see more and more of when it comes to big brokers. Now, I'm not one to gloat, but I can't help myself in this case, so here it is. One of the most satisfying things that I see happening on the load board is when a very, very big broker starts posting and reposting the same load over and over again for hours because they cannot sell it. And then a few hours pass by and a smaller broker posts that same exact load because the customer decided to cast a wider net. And then that smaller broker ends up getting that load covered within, an hour or so, and usually paying a better price. Now, what is the verdict here? Well, the verdict is that carriers more and more are choosing to work with smaller brokers rather than the big guys. So before I end this video, I just want to leave you with this one last thought. Brokers are reporting that they are getting more volume from their customers, which means one main thing, that they are going to be more desperate to find capacity to cover that increased volume. And if there is anything positive that came out of the past 3 years in this industry, it's this. We, carriers and truckers, have adapted to arguably one of the worst freight markets we have ever seen. On the flip side, many brokers during this same time got used to the fact that they just post a load and it's gone within seconds. We had to work our butts off and jump through numerous hoops in order to get our next load, whereas brokers were able to simply find capacity by posting a load and watching the phone ring off the hook. Now that there is evidence that brokers are going to have to work a little bit harder in order to find capacity, use it to your advantage and don't forget the lessons that you learned at the bottom of the freight cycle. And of course, always remember, there is no such thing as a bad experience. The worst moments usually teach us the most valuable lessons and also build our resilience. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining and watching today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Stay safe, keep negotiating, and keep learning. See you in the next video.